Before we get started, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of the content that is released by Go Collect. And if you're interested, head over to Regie Collects here on YouTube. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for the Go Collect weekly speculation video. Stay tuned. Before we get started today talking about these 6 blog posts, I want to ask for your help. The folks over at Go Collect are interested in hearing from you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are as well. Specifically around the type of content that you might want the bloggers to talk about, right? So what do you want to see more of? What are you interested in hearing? What aspects of speculation are you really interested in having the bloggers dig into and ultimately create some blog posts about? That is the question. That is the assignment for you guys, to give some thought to what it is that you want the bloggers to talk about and ultimately what you might want me to cover here on the channel. So down in the comments section, take a couple of moments, give us your thoughts. Let us know what you want to see. And I would encourage you to be specific. Specificity goes a long way to making sure that we truly understand what you're interested in seeing and hearing, and it puts us in a position to actually be able to deliver that thing back to you. So ambiguity in this case won't be a good thing. Down in the comment section, let us know what you think. We'll be checking. Given everything that is happening in the United States right now, this first blog post I think is a really compelling one. The blogger is making a very strong argument as to why the X-Men need to be introduced into the MCU sooner rather than later. Partly because these characters may be more relatable than many of the other characters that are currently present in the MCU. But I want to read an excerpt from this blog post that I think is pretty interesting. It says, everyone should be able to identify with the X-Men in one way or another. At first glance, the X-Men may not seem realistic, but there's a deeper quality. As they were meant to be from their inception, mutants represent anyone who has ever felt put down, dehumanized, and treated unjustly. But they are more than just the faces of the oppressed. One of the overarching themes of the classic X-Men is that they protected those who hate and fear them. Even the villains can be understood. Written as a Holocaust survivor, Magneto isn't just out to rule the world. In his view, he is protecting his people from those who would harm them by fighting violence with violence. All of the traditional X-Men pantheon symbolizes the need for social change and the paths taken to get it. They teach moral lessons with a twist, showing that the world is more gray than black and white, with no clear, simple solutions. While this blog post doesn't have a lot to do with speculation, I think that it is still an interesting one that you might benefit from reading. The link to it is down in the description. This second blog post is actually near and dear to my heart, and it is because it talks about a philosophical approach of investing in comics and speculating in comics before those books actually get hot. If you take some time to take a step back and ask yourself, where is the market going? What am I interested in? Are there books? Are there teams? Are there characters? Are there second appearances that I might want to buy now while they're inexpensive because I could see in a year or two or whatever that book, that character, that story arc, that second appearance going up in value? This article spends some time talking about that very concept and gives you a few things to think about. So you may want to take a look at this article because of the philosophical approach that they talk about, but also because they highlight 3 books that you may want to take a look at. The very first book that they talk about is Thor 338, and this is the second appearance of Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill, super hot character, a lot of excitement and appreciation and attention for this character. And there's a lot of belief that this character is actually going to be coming to the MCU as well. And so to that point, Picking up Thor 338, the second appearance, may not be a bad bet. The second book that the blogger points out is Batman 497, and this is a book where Bane literally and figuratively breaks Batman. And while Bane has made an appearance in a movie before, that is not to say that he cannot make an appearance down the road in a future movie or something like that. So this potentially could be a book that you want to take a look at. The very last book on the list is ROM number 1. And the blogger writes that ROM is a solid TV series just waiting for someone to make it. If you have any interest in any of these books that I just talked about, I definitely want to encourage you to take a look at the blog post. The blogger does a good job of kind of talking about each one of the books, but then also does a little bit of analysis on the returns associated with these books. The link down in the description. I will tell you for a fact that these bloggers are on fire. These blog posts that I am reading, I am honestly enjoying them. This one right here is it is good because I did not think about it. I did not think about the possibility of Moira coming to the MCU and potentially being how they actually introduce mutants into the MCU. If you have read Jonathan Hickman's House of X Powers of 10, you know that Moira has taken on a whole new life. She has some capabilities that she did not originally have because of the fantastic writing and imagination of Jonathan Hickman. She is living multiple lives, and the blogger makes an argument here that because she has led multiple lives, that theoretically the MCU without mutants could be just one of those lives, and Moira could introduce another life in which the mutants are actually there. It is pretty interesting stuff. If you read Jonathan Hickman's books, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, treat yourself, because I thoroughly enjoy what this guy has done. He has brought new life to the X-Men in so many ways. But to that point, let's talk about two books that you might want to pick up that are related to Moira. The very first book is her first appearance, which is X-Men number 96 from 1975. This book is somewhat pricey, but it definitely will not break the budget. And so if you have some interest in picking up her first appearance, you might be able to snag a pretty nice copy of this book for just under about $400. The other book that the blogger highlights is House of X number 2. And this is, again, part of Jonathan Hickman's run. This is really cool. It is not the first appearance, but it is the introduction of Moira with all of her mutant abilities. If you think that Moira could be the path for how mutants are introduced to the MCU, these books might be ones that you want to consider picking up. There has been a little bit of a drumbeat for the last year and a half or so that Hercules was going to make an appearance. And those rumors thus far have proven to be untrue, but there is some renewed interest in this character as people have started to talk about the possibility of Hercules appearing in either She-Hulk, Loki, or Thor, Love and Thunder. And so as a result of that, the blogger wrote this blog post and highlights the fact that you may want to pick up a copy of his first appearance, Journey into Mystery Annual number 1. The blogger highlights here in this article that the book actually isn't as expensive as he thought that it might be, and he cites the fact that a 7.5 graded will cost you about $700, but you can actually pick up an ungraded copy maybe for $100 or so, and mind you, it might be like a 3.0, but it's an ungraded copy for kind of sort of a couple of bucks. So if you believe that there is some potential for Hercules to appear in one of these movies or streaming services or whatever it might be, you might want to take a look at this blog post and ultimately take a look at this book. So I have a couple of characters that I have an interest in, and I kind of keep my eye on them, and I'm thinking about picking up the first appearances, but for some reason I just have not pulled the trigger. One of those characters is Miles Morales. I think that this is a fantastic character that has some long-term potential, but because of everything that is happening with the values of that book, I have not pulled the trigger on that first appearance. But another character that I'm keeping my eye on is one that is actually talked about in this blog post. And I am specifically talking about Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. The rumors that I'm specifically talking about, which are cited in this blog post, highlight how Ironheart may have her own Disney Plus series next year. And there are rumors that the studio is actually aiming to be in production next year. And if this is true, then now again might be the time to pick up these books. And specifically, the books that I'm talking about here are her cameo appearance, which was Invincible Iron Man number 7 in 2016. 9.8 graded copies of this book are selling for about $150. The first full appearance, Invincible Iron Man number 9, is actually going for about $300 at a 9.8. Neither one of those is terribly expensive, but it could have a lot of potential if the rumors about the Disney Plus streaming service is actually true. So I might have to jump on eBay and pick up this book. But if you believe that there may be some potential here with this particular character, you definitely want to take a look at the blog post. Familiarize yourself with the details, do a little bit of research, and then decide for yourself if this is something that you want to pick up. With summer just around the corner, this next blog post is actually pretty well timed. And it's well timed because the blogger highlights how during the summer, for the last several years, many of us are gearing up to head to the movie theaters to actually see some of our favorite characters come to life on the big screen. But because of everything that is happening with COVID right now in the world, summer is going to look a lot different for many of us. But the blogger says that you should not have any fear. While we may not be able to see some of these characters on the big screen, there may still be some big buying opportunities for some of these appearances of some pretty awesome characters. The blogger actually highlights 3 books that you might want to take a look at if you believe that there's some potential there. The very first Undervalued comic for summer that the blogger highlights is Amazing Spider-Man number 344, which is the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy. The blogger goes on to talk about another character that I'm actually not that familiar with, specifically one by the name of Stephanie Brown, who had an appearance in Detective Comics issue number 647. The character goes on to actually appear as a vigilante named Spoiler in Detective Comics issue number 648. And the blogger kind of makes an argument here for the fact that this character might actually be a perfect one for DC to develop for the CW or for HBO. The very last book that the blogger talks about is Tomb of Dracula number 10. This is actually the first appearance of Blade. And you might be thinking to yourself, how can the first appearance of a super popular character that might have a movie be undervalued? Well, here's the thing. With all of the delays that have actually happened with the MCU, Phase 4 and Phase 5, what has happened is the values and the asking prices associated with Tomb of Dracula number 10 have actually gone down. In fact, across almost every single grade, there has been a significant decline in the FMV. And so the character of Blade isn't going anywhere. We know for a fact that this character is going to have a movie at some point, date to be determined. But this could be a great opportunity to actually pick up this book while the prices are down, and then you can cruise in to the movie when it actually happens in a couple of years. So 3 awesome books that you might want to consider picking up. I would definitely encourage you to read this blog post, take a look at it, do your own research, and then decide for yourself. So there you have it. We have reached the end of another weekly recap. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and will tune in next week. But before I let you go, I want to give you one last reminder to take a couple of minutes to let us know what type of blog post you might want to see in the future. And you can do that down in the comment section. Take care.